We've got our configuration out of the way, and in this lesson we'll write our sorting preference to iCloud's key value store. We used NSUser defaults to interact with the default system. iOS provides a similar abstraction called NSUbiquitous key value store to write to and read from iCloud's key value storage container. We can use this to store small amounts of non-critical data, such as our preferences, to iCloud. Now the keyword here is non-critical. We can't be assured the user is connected to the network or even that they have an iCloud account, so we can't rely on it being available. It's also important to note there are limits on how much data can be written to this store. I think when iCloud was first introduced, it limited you to about 64K of space, and there are also limits on the individual values per key that you can store. Now this has gradually increased over time, and just within the past week or two, Apple's bumped up the limits to 1 megabyte. This is a significant and needed increase, but it's still a relatively small amount of space, so be sure to use it wisely. I'll switch over to the music list view controller, and in our sort list method where we're writing to the NSUser defaults, we'll additionally write to iCloud. I first want to get a reference to this instance of NSUbiquitous key value store. I'll call the default store method on this class to get its singleton instance. And similar to how we save that value in NSUser defaults, I'll call kvStore setObject and wrap that selected index value in an NS number and store it under that same sort key. NSUbiquitous key value store keeps your data in memory and will periodically write this data to disk before writing it to iCloud. You don't have control over when these writes to iCloud happen, and just need to rely on the OS to do so at periodic intervals. Like NSUser defaults, this ubiquitous key value store also provides a synchronize method. But according to the documentation, this only writes the memory values to disk, but doesn't impact how soon those changes are sent to iCloud. Now, despite what the documentation says, for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to call this method as it does seem to influence how soon those changes are pushed over the wire. Believe it or not, this is all we have to do to write this data to iCloud. In this lesson, we saw how to save our changes to the NSUbiquitous key value store. Usage of this class is quite similar to using NSUser defaults, which makes writing data to iCloud very easy to do.